On a Saturday night in Miami, President Trump was seen cage-side at a UFC fight, surrounded by the noise and spectacle of a capacity crowd. At that same moment in Islamabad, Pakistan, Vice President JD Vance walked to a podium to deliver a different update. He was there to announce that 21 hours of marathon ceasefire negotiations with Iran had ended in a total collapse. The stakes for these talks were immense. The region had just endured 40 days of forced warfare and missile strikes that claimed civilian lives, leaving the international community bracing for a much wider Middle East conflict. This wasn't for a lack of effort on the ground. Negotiators spent the day exchanging multiple written documents and formal messages, attempting to bridge the gap on issues ranging from sanctions relief to war reparations. The failure suggests the two sides didn't just have a communication breakdown. They hit two rigid, unyielding barriers, one a matter of geography, and the other a matter of science. The first barrier is the Strait of Hormuz, the primary artery for global oil. For Iran, control here is their most significant leverage. The U.S. arrived with a firm demand. The strait must be cleared of the explosive maritime mines deployed to block traffic. Proof of the escalation is already visible. U.S. CENTCOM has confirmed that warships are being positioned to begin clearing operations, preparing to secure the passage by force if necessary. This highlights a shift in the American position. Within a single week, President Trump moved from claiming the U.S. no longer relied on the strait's oil to making absolute control of the waterway a non-negotiable requirement for peace. Tehran views these terms as one-sided. Giving up control of the strait without a reduction in global sanctions would be a strategic surrender rather than a compromise. For the Iranian regime, closing the strait functions as a physical insurance policy, the only thing preventing a full-scale military campaign against them. While geography stalled the talks on one front, Vice President Vance introduced a second deal-breaker in Islamabad, the future of Iran's nuclear program. The U.S. issued an ultimatum requiring verifiable proof that Iran will not build or maintain the rapid capacity to build nuclear weapons. This chart shows the breakout time, or how quickly civilian enrichment can be converted into a weaponized grade. These demands are backed by intense pressure from Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has maintained a separate, aggressive military campaign specifically targeting these nuclear sites. Netanyahu argues that these strikes are a necessity. He claims Iran has moved too close to the nuclear threshold and that preemptive sabotage is the only way to prevent them from crossing it. The Iranian delegation rejected these terms. They argued that Washington was attempting to win concessions at the negotiating table that they couldn't achieve through months of Israeli and American bombing. The tension is spreading beyond the Middle East. President Trump has already issued threats to China, warning of severe consequences if they proceed with plans to send advanced air defense systems to help Iran protect its facilities. The nuclear issue has become a zero-sum trap. The U.S. and Israel demand total Iranian transparency to feel secure, while Tehran views nuclear ambiguity as the only way to ensure the regime's survival. As the American delegation left Pakistan, both Vance and Trump maintained a confident public stance, claiming that the failure to reach a deal will cause far more economic pain for Iran than for the United States. Inside Iran, the reaction was different. On social media, civilians shared messages of anxiety, fearing the end of talks signals a return to active warfare and even deeper economic isolation. Officially, Iran is projecting patience. Their representatives claim they have already provided a reasonable proposal, effectively telling Washington that the next move is theirs to make. The breakdown of the talks was followed immediately by more violence. Military posturing has resumed, with new strikes in Lebanon resulting in more civilian casualties. While both sides say the door to future talks remains open, the 21 hours in Islamabad showed that the underlying issues haven't changed. The red lines for both nations are exactly where they were before the summit began. Ultimately, the Islamabad summit demonstrated that a temporary pause in fighting does not resolve these core disputes. Until there is a shift in the standoff over the Strait of Hormuz or nuclear enrichment, the underlying drivers of this conflict remain in place.